On this episode of Crossing the Streams, I am joined by an old friend, I consider, actually, on Twitch, SuparComputar. Welcome, Super. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm doing pretty good. We actually got a lot of warm up time before this episode.
That's true.
In addition to being able to like hang out like we normally do just before an episode, I try to give the guest and myself time to warm up. I actually had Super on stream yesterday while we were putting guest star, the feature that we're using on Twitch, to use, and so
Mhm.
it's been hopefully a good experience for you because now, at least you're not completely fresh coming in. Now you're a little warmed up. So tell me, Super, for those that don't know who you are, tell us a bit about you and your channel and what they can expect from your community.
I'll do my best to sum it up. I like I said, I'm primarily a Lego streamer. It's all kind of, I guess, about the Lego, but at the same time, it's more about the people. I think it's I use the Lego as a medium for connecting with people. The Lego is there, and sometimes we even build with it. Sometimes we're just chatting a lot, and not a heck of a lot of building happens, and that's totally fine with me as well. So I've done some gaming on the stream here and there. I've been toying with that. Usually, what I've sort of fallen into is if I do gaming, it's usually with other Lego streamers or people in the Lego community. But
Right.
I like Lego, and I like to share my love of Lego, and I like to connect with people over it. And I've always found, actually, just over my, I don't know, I wouldn't call it my career, but my my time as a fan of Lego, that's always I've just met so many amazing people, and I just keep doing that, and this is just another way to do it.
I think it's an accurate description. I believe that I like the note of sometimes Lego gets built.
Yeah.
But I mean, to me, that just shows that the reason why it doesn't get built as much, I think, as one would expect is, you take chatting with the community really seriously. I know that that's generally what happens is you get started on a
That's true.
topic,
Yeah.
conversation ensues, and then you're just hanging out and you're chatting, and then I remember one of the first times I hung out in your channel, you were holding the same piece of Lego for like 5-10 minutes, and you were just, and then you yourself called it out. You're like, "Man, I've just been holding this brick for like
Yep.
ever."
It's suddenly, yeah, there's moments where I become aware of what's going on, and I'm like, "Oh, well, might as well just point that out. That's this is how it is." I'm, I get it's almost, yeah, it's kind of a good example of like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm more focused on chat than I do." It's actually like, eh, I I mean, one of the other things is I have a struggle, like, keeping up with chat, and I think it's because I'm wanting to, like, give every message that's sent, like, the attention that it deserves, and usually it always most almost every comment spins some idea up in my head that I, like, can talk about or ask more about or just kinda get into more. It's very rare I'll just read one question, not say much, and then go on to the next one, so it makes it hard to keep up with chat sometimes, but, I also just like to really address everyone's comment with, my full attention, I guess.
I appreciate that. I think that's really awesome. Thinking about how you got started, I guess
Mm,
actually, I don't think I personally really know either your Lego story or your Twitch story.
okay.
Out of the 2, which came first, and how did that happen?
Oh gosh, Lego story for sure. I mean, Lego started as a kid, I think, as it did for a lot of us. Not everyone in the community. I know that many that have just picked it up as adults, but I definitely loved Lego as a kid. That's where it all began. Like I still have my Lego sets I had as a kid. I mean, just last stream, I was going through an old list I had made of all the sets I had as a kid. Just I was just, because we're building the Pirates of Caribbean or of Barracuda Bay. So then I was just talking about how much I really liked pirates as a kid and stuff. So we kind of looked at what sets, and we started, and there's a bunch of other people that were in the stream, and they remembered old sets they had or old sets they wish they had, which is probably the ones you remember almost more. You're like,
Mhm,
oh, I never got that one. But yeah, it started as a kid, and then obviously had the standard or the familiar common dark ages of
mm,
Lego, where you just stop doing Lego. You're like, that's a kid's thing. I'm an adult now, or at least a teenager,
mhm,
and kind of stopped playing it. And then in 2000, I believe it was 2012 or end of 2011, I I picked it up again. One of my favorite sets was like a shuttle set
mm,
that I had as a kid, and then they came out. They had this new, that's how they get you. They like remake some sort of thing that you had as a kid.
mhm.
And
Nostalgia.
I saw this shuttle set. I'm like, that would be cool to build, actually. So I picked it up and then kind of went from there. And then I mean, oh, we could get into like my whole journey with Lego. I mean, there because I've been in
Yeah,
lugs and I go to conventions and
yeah.
I've been making mocks, and I've just been doing that for for a long time. Well, since then, since 2000, pretty much that year,
So,
2012, I joined a log, and
about 10 years at this point.
yeah, yeah, 10 years now. So, and then like as I was saying last night, my stream anniversary, my 2 years on Twitch is tomorrow. Uh, So yeah, so I was doing Lego for a good 8 or so years before that. So
Congratulations on 2 years on Twitch for one thing.
yeah, that's wild. I can't
Yeah,
believe it's been 2 years
yeah.
already, but it's been amazing. So
I in the brick building community, I think that's actually considered I would consider 'cause, some of the originals is Brick and Nick set to build some of the early brick building streamers on Twitch, and then that's 5 to 6 years, right? So, they're kind of the
right,
OGs. I would think
yeah,
that a lot of folks gosh, we didn't see a lot more for another year or 2 after that, I think. Like, then a kind of a wave of another group came in, like, you
hmm
see, like, Dr. Cat and all them, right? It was around that time where and then now I feel like the pandemic brought a lot of us in.
yeah.
Like, I mean, 2 years ago, that was right around pandemic times
That
for you,
that was
so
yeah. That's when I I started, and there were a lot of people at that time at
yeah,
the same time as me that were getting into it, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I guess I can do this too. Like, there's some other people doing it, and I mean, I hadn't even discovered that there was Lego building on Twitch at all until around that time. So
yeah,
then I saw like other people kind of joining in, and I was like, I want to be involved in this. I want to be more involved in this, I guess. And so I'm like, maybe I can stream. I'm like, that's one of the things I wasn't building that much at that time because I don't know. I just sort of lost the like. I was when I would be building, I'd just be sitting in my room alone building, and I was like, that doesn't. Sometimes it's good, and other times it's like I just wish I wasn't just hanging out here alone. So I thought, wow, I could be building with people online. That would be cool.
yeah.
So
Tell me about how you discovered Lego on Twitch.
I remember the first stream I watched. It was just some random night. I don't remember why I decided, hey, I wonder if there's Lego on Twitch. Or I think I was just curious about Twitch that night. I was kind of bored. I was like, oh yeah, Twitch is a thing. I haven't looked at that in a long time. And then I just sort of like, well, what's on here? And then I started looking for Lego stuff shortly because that's like, one of my main hobbies is like wonder if people build. And there was a charity stream with April B and Between the Bricks at the time. That's building with the Black Dog now, and they had this co-stream and they were raising money for charity. And I was like, "This is amazing. I love this. This is so great. What a great way to like the charity thing was great." I was like, "Oh wow, they're raising money and they're building and they're having a good time." And yeah, I was just like drawn into that. So then after that, once you find one Lego streamer, you start getting the shout or hearing the shout outs from other people and you start finding more people. And so I just kept watching. Yeah, but that was I remember that stream pretty well.
I
That was
like
good.
that it was a charity. It sounds like, a charity event stream, which if you're going to be introduced, those are usually the more memorable ones because there's always something.
There were redeems and stuff for sure.
Yeah, there's always
That's the
stuff
weird stuff.
going
I
on.
was like, "Oh, this is hilarious." Yeah, yeah, it was kind of, it was funny, it was kind of completely random night, and it happened to be a charity stream, so,
Tell me about from that moment to when you made that decision of building Lego yourself on stream.
mm.
What kind of brought you to that point?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't quite know. I think I mean, part of it was probably because it was the pandemic was on, I was feeling a little isolated, and I also was feeling a little like I was in a little lull with my Lego building, and I
Mm,
needed another way to kind of re-energize my love of the brick. Because before the pandemic, I'm doing all the lug stuff. I would go to meetings, we'd put on shows together, we'd go to conventions. Like it became like the reason I did Lego was to socialize with people and do stuff together. Like the best times I've had with Legos doing that, like collaborative builds and going to conventions is just so great. So I think I was like, oh, this is a way that I can do this. I can kind of connect with people while I'm stuck in my house. So,
yeah,
and I think that was pretty common. There was a bunch of people that I think felt the same way. And I didn't quite know what I was going to do. I thought it was going to be all mocking because that's usually what I did. I think at that time I was barely even building sets. I would buy them and then I would part them out without even building them sometimes. Not
mm,
like the nice sets. I was like buying sets for part. I wasn't buying sets because I'm like, oh, that's a nice display thing. Like which is something I do now. Like I'm like, oh, that's just a nice looking set. I want to have that set. And I'd love to build that on stream. But yeah, I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna do my mock building on stream,
mhm,
which anyone that's kind of watched my stream knows I do mocking. I mean, I tried to do mocking the other night, and I have made mocks on stream, but the majority of what I've been doing has been sets and just kind of enjoying that process
yeah,
because I always when I would be again I was like just building in my room alone, so I you'd see these what I've been calling I think this was with the help of Panfred Nudo, but these son of a gun moments, Lego, you son of a gun moments, where
yeah,
you're building and you're like, that is so cool. I wish I could show this to somebody. Like,
yeah,
and now I get to, and that's like one of my favorite things. They're like, wow, they just blew my mind right there. Like, check this out.
yeah. I can
Yeah,
identify with that a lot. I think building Lego on stream is really fun when you get those moments, right? Where just a really fun little technique or something really cool that you hadn't seen before on how to make something or a part of something,
yeah,
or even like an Easter egg if it's one of those licensed sets of something that's just fun if you're a
yeah.
fan. I think of Zach M. Rutledge putting together like the Office set recently, and him as a large fan of that show, he had a lot of
Right.
those moments where he got super excited, and I can't
I love
imagine.
that.
Yeah, I can't imagine, like, not being able to share those moments with folks online now. I've enjoyed those moments in your stream as well when you've had those Lego "you son of a gun" moments. Which, I mean, this leads me to, the next question, which you answered, but maybe we can even dive deeper
Dive
on
into it
on that.
more. Sure, sure.
What all about building Lego do you enjoy? What about streaming it do you enjoy?
Definitely, definitely those moments. I think just sharing that joy of it, and connecting with people over it, and it's like people that kind of get it. You almost feel like I mean, it feels like maybe less now. Lots of people are into Lego, but 10 years ago when I started into it, it's kind of like it's kind of was kind of a niche thing. It wasn't the popular culture like I feel like it is almost now. But maybe that's just because I'm so deep into the world of it now that just feels like everyone is into it. But like, I mean, I have like coworkers and stuff, and that they have Lego sets and stuff, and like that wasn't really the case back then. But yeah, there's something about like connecting over shared love of something. That's really great. And I do like to share the stuff when I do walking and stuff. I like to share the stuff I've created. I like to create. So, and part of that is creating something that other people will enjoy. So that's another part of it. Again, it's just kind of, yeah, it's just a way to like connect.
Connect, share that joy of the hobby with
Yeah.
other folks who do the same. What was the process for you getting used to streaming? Well, I think
Hmm.
certainly that was something brand new for you. So how was it adjusting to be talking at people in the chat room while trying to build Lego? What was that like?
Different. It was strange. It was I think it's very outside of my comfort zone. I don't think, like, I think even, like, people that know me or knew me before I was streaming or know me outside of streaming, I think they are surprised to know that I do this because I'm not really I'm pretty introverted and I don't like being the center of attention and stuff like that. So it seems a little out of character to do
Mm.
this. And I wasn't sure how it was going to work myself. I was like, well, I thought, well, maybe I won't have my face on there. But then when I was watching other streams, I was like, I like the streams where I can see their face. Like I like to see who's building. I like to that for me, that was something I liked about streams. So I was like, wow, I think I'll just do that. Still a little uncomfortable sometimes, but I remember my first stream. So I feel like I got kind of jumped into the deep or dropped into the deep end there in the first stream because set to
Mm.
build came in with some huge raid and like like I was only like a half hour into it or something. And I was like, oh my god, what's this? What have you done to me? But I was like stressed out, but I was also really excited, and it was gets your heart going, and people were really excited to be there. And I was working on a mock that I had previously started, so I kind of had something to kind of show and talk about, so that helped. Yeah, so that was like my first introduction to like not being able to keep up with chat. That was my first stream. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely I don't know, it's definitely not always easy, but it's always good. Like, I haven't had much negative experience in it. It's like, it's a little bit overwhelming sometimes, but not in a bad way, you know? Like, every time it's been overwhelming, it's because everyone's really excited and are wanting to say something to me, and they're really glad to be there, it seems like. So that's, it's like, "Oh, okay, well, I can try to deal with this." So, but yeah, it's been good. It's been adjustment, and there's just stuff constantly that I'm like, "I could do this better, or it could be better at this." I just try not to, like, worry about it too much and just do what I can do, and, but definitely an adjustment.
You mentioned when you're not on Twitch streaming, but you're building Lego, you turn on other channels. You don't have to give specifics, but I'm always glad to ask, like, what are some of the channels you do enjoy watching the most, while on Twitch?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. It's like that's hard to answer without going on a long list, but, I mean, I definitely love watching your streams. We'll
Thank
start
you.
there, that's an easy one.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime I'm available and you're on stream, I'm definitely there or lurking. Just love that vibe. I mean, I really like the chill, relaxed vibes. Well, if it's some of the other streams I still enjoy, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm like have the energy to be in a stream that's like that chaotic right now.
Right.
And I have to kind of gauge that. But yeah, definitely yours. And let's see, where do we start? I mean, April B is great. Zach M. Rutledge is good, and AZ Panoy, or AZ Panoy as I call him.
Mhm.
Uh, it's always good. And yeah, there's just so many. I feel like I don't want to leave anyone out there, but like Lone Gopher, that Square guy, just so many.
Yeah.
I could keep going.
And
But,
you pointed out that you
Panfred Nudo, I gotta sorry,
of course
I
no,
can't believe
keep
I didn't
it's
mention
fine.
that.
You say you tend to enjoy, like, the laid back, chill streams. You know, personally, I my preference is I'm more in that vein as someone like, that's the kind of streamer I am, but, like, I'm okay with, the occasional chaos stream when I'm watching it. But yeah, I totally hear you.
Mhm,
I think it's because of my relationship, with Lego. My relationship with Lego is very much of I use Lego as a way to almost zen out, right? To, like, really relax. I love,
mhm,
like, to just there's something mildly therapeutic about putting bricks together, and I mean, I like to build sets, you know, like, I think mocking's awesome. I'm more apt to be like, I just wanna kinda build a set and see like, go through the process, and, you know, I
mm,
kinda like bigger sets, so it's like, I just kinda wanna build
yeah,
this big thing, and I think it's cool that you know, you like those streams because that very much, you know, when you refer to mine, that's for me, I'm merely reflecting what Lego does for me, is like, I just wanna
right.
put a couple bricks together.
Yeah, right? You wanna just keep things simple and chill and relaxed, and
Yeah,
it's very a therapeutic process, or it can be.
yeah.
I tend to I don't know if I'd say avoid, but the streams, once there's, like, a certain number of people in there, sometimes it also will, like, I'll sort of I'll aim for, like, some of the quieter streams, somewhere where I can get more of the streamers, I don't know, attention, I guess. Give me your
Mm.
I need your attention. I but, like, where I can have a conversation with them, I guess, even if it's just for, like, because sometimes I'll just pop in and I just, like, it's a short conversation, and then I'm kind of lurking and doing other stuff.
Yeah.
But if I can grab that little bit of, like, they're not completely overwhelmed with what else is going on. So, like, I love Amish Ace's stream, but sometimes it's a bit like there's just a lot going on in there, and so I might just lurk, like I'll just leave it
Yeah.
on, or I won't. Yeah. So, but when I can get a little conversation with Ace, it's always great. I love it. So,
Mhm.
and same with Jang. It's very. I mean, he's got a lot of people in there. But he does, the streamers like that, they're still really good at, like, they're way better than me at, like, making you feel like you're, like, they care that you're there, and well, I'm not saying I don't I hope I make people feel like they care they're there, but, like,
Right.
they're better at keeping up with the chat and keep making a lot of people feel noticed immediately, I think, so those are always good. There's lots of streamers that are really good at that, and I like that too.
When you stream yourself, what do you find, I guess, challenging as someone who's trying to juggle,
Mm.
building Lego, having conversation, you know, bringing in the thought that you said just now, like when the streamer makes you feel they're paying attention to you, like what goes through your mind when you do all those things? What provides the biggest challenge for you as someone who broadcasts Lego live?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I was mentioning, for just like the when there's a lot of people in there and I'm not able to, like, keep up with chat because I'm trying to give everyone my full attention, and
Mm,
I definitely struggle with that balance because sometimes it's, like, slow. It'll be slow, and that's, like, in a good way. Like, I'm able to keep up, and I'm able to, like, give a bunch of attention and just go into a bunch of detail, or on a completely random tangent about something that somebody said, like spin off another conversation. And then suddenly, like, a raid will come in or something, or a bunch of people just show up out of the blue, and I have a hard time, like, pivoting from, like, okay, we were doing a chill thing now, and now we're this is like I gotta, like, be on the ball, and that's
mm,
definitely a challenge to, like, suddenly have to change my pacing of things,
yeah.
for lack of a better word, but
Yeah, because then chat
you get
speeds up, right? And then it gets
mhm,
difficult to focus.
yeah, yeah, or, like, they kick off, the a hype train or something, and it's I mean, the hype and the donations and stuff, that can be a challenge as well, like, to make sure I'm conveying the appreciation that I have for that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
trying to like keep like have the reflect the energy. Like people want to like they they'll be throwing alerts and like, okay, it's high energy time, and usually it works, and I do get excited, but sometimes it can be a challenge if I'm feeling kind of a low energy that day or something like that. So that could be a challenge. But yeah, I definitely struggle with like I appreciate a lot when people like I never expect the donations and stuff. It's like again, it's not why like
Yeah.
the reason I'm there is for the people, not for all that. So but it's heckin' appreciated, and it means I can keep building more sets and stuff. Yeah, that's something. It's like just make sure that people understand, and sometimes that can be a challenge.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm doing okay at it. It's hard to know. It's hard to gauge. I guess that's what makes it a challenge.
I think you do just fine in those moments when I happen to see it, but, I
Okay. Well,
I
that's good
underst
to know. That's good to
yeah,
know.
yeah, I think you're doing great. I definitely it's tough in those moments to feel like you're able to keep up because there is a point where it does feel like a lot, and I think when you hit that point, that's pretty natural for most of us to kind of just feel absolutely behind. I think you handle it just fine. It's understandable, though. It's
I try.
understandable, though.
I try.
Yeah.
It's just something I'm aware of, and that I yeah. Usually, whenever it's like, oh, I'm self conscious about this, I usually just for some reason I draw more attention to it, and that's
You point it
and so
out.
I'm like, yeah, I point it out, and
Yeah.
somehow that I don't know if it makes it easier. It's like it's not like a secret. I'm just like, okay, like I'm feeling a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
trying my best. We're doing good. I'm having a blast though. Thanks for
Yeah.
this. But that's like I like it's a bit of a dilemma with the number of people. Like you want more viewers. You'd like to eh, be uh, entertaining or provide something that lots of people are enjoying. But also,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, could I actually handle that?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. It
so it is
is
a dilemma.
it is a dilemma. I mean, there's a fine line, right, where often streamers will sit there and be like, "Man, I hope people actually show up to my stream tonight."
Hmm.
And then, maybe it's quiet for a while, and then maybe something happens where a bunch of people realize you're on, or you get a raid, or something just pops off, and then you're like, "Oh my god, now I can't keep up with chat anymore. I don't know what to say and or do." Um, it's
Yeah.
understandable. Looking back at when you got started, thinking about those early days of streaming, would there be anything you could do or would do differently or had hoped, now that you know what you know, what kind of things would you have
Hmm.
maybe approached differently now that you have a couple years under your belt?
I feel like I haven't really changed that much since I started. I feel like I haven't like learned anything, but I just kind of keep doing what I was doing way back then. But I know I had like a ton of ideas when I first started of like, oh, and then I maybe I can get into this, or maybe I can stream this sort of thing, and like pretty much none of them panned out, or I didn't go down that route just because I was enjoying doing what I was doing. So I just kind of was fine to keep doing that. So but I think I mean, I wouldn't tell my past self to not like don't have those ideas. I think it's just unfortunate. I mean, I'm like there's still a bunch of things like doing like coding streams or something has always been an idea of mine to like
Mm,
branch out that way and do. And I've always had the well like I've seen some there's actually some streamers or at least one I can think of that's and there's two names, which is my point. That one they have a coding stream and then they have a Lego stream, and then because they have it's such a separate, it's just such a different audience that it'd be approaching. So it's like, oh, do I just start doing one day a week where I do coding or something? Like I wouldn't even know how to do that, and I still don't really have a plan for that, but
mm. But you want to. You want to do that.
I do if it was something that people would want to see or would
Yeah.
appreciate. It would probably be something more like a coding like tutorial or like beginners coding thing. It would be more probably like a opportunity to teach because that's something when it comes to my coding, my software development career. Like I'm kind of I really like the mentorship part of that. I like
Mm,
to kind of share the knowledge I have there, but I
yeah.
haven't been able to do that in Twitch, or haven't, not that I haven't been able to, but just haven't figured out how best to do that on Twitch. So
Honestly,
yeah,
I'd love to see you try because I think that is another side of supercomputer that I think that would be very fun to see. You program as your day job, yeah, and
yeah,
so
yeah.
it would be very cool to kinda get that context of supercomputer. So I know you're thinking of when a good time for that might be. I'd love to see it though, whenever that comes. Let me know. And
Okay.
I think it's really cool to touch on this because we
Hmm?
spoke a little bit about it yesterday on another chat. We were talking about the interests of what were previously Lego streamers, like main Lego streamers. That was
Right.
their primary content. We're starting to see a lot of folks in the community branch out more, whether it be playing other
Hmm.
games or doing other things like art or just go variety completely. You know, myself, I'm doing more talk shows than Lego lately, but is someone who has interest in showing your skills and maybe mentoring people in coding. How I guess my question to you is how do you feel about doing that? Are you just kind of waiting to see like when you think would be a good time is, or are you just kind of nervous
Uh,
about jumping to something completely different?
yeah, I mean, I think there's some trepidation there with making that jump, or even just putting that on display, if that makes sense. Like, to be like, here's how good I am at coding, which, it's like, well, that just opens it up to criticism, or like to
Nah.
people to judgment or something. It's something which is, kind of why I also struggle with mocking on stream. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
I worry about, like, oh, people will be like, oh, it doesn't build that cool stuff, or it's constantly something I'm aware of, or at least conscious of. So, and it's like, oh, do that with coding too. That could be a little bit uncomfortable. Trying to fit that into what I'm already doing on stream. That's a bit of a challenge. I'm not sure how to do it. So that's kind of, yeah. There's been a few times where I'm like, oh, I've almost kind of planned out what I might do. I mean, in my
Mm,
head, I've planned out what I might do like 100 times. I'm like, oh, that would be cool, like first project. I've
yeah.
really thought about, what if I could do some coding that either actually, like, Lego people might actually be like, oh, this is easy enough, I could try it. Or probably more easier would be streamers, because there's lots of tools and stuff that you could code, or you could, like, oh, like, make your own overlay, or like write your own JavaScript like thing or something, right? Like, there's so many things you could do with coding in as a streamer, if you wanted to, that could be fun to do. So it'll be like kind of combining the two in a way, not just being like, oh, let's make a random like web page today, or something that just more generic. I feel like if I could tie it into what I already do, then
Yeah.
that might be interesting. I might get some people, like some of my viewers or in the Lego community, interested in coding, because that's another thing that I like to get people excited about coding and interested in technology in general. So if you could pull some people in that thought, oh, I could never do that, that would be a win.
I like that thought. I really like the idea of how you can hopefully tie it to something relevant for the folks who already are involved with your channel. I think that's a great way
Hmm.
to bridge that gap between, okay, well, people generally watch me build Lego,
Yeah,
but could I get them to be interested in code? I think that's a great question worth trying to answer at some point, Super. Like, I think that'd
definitely
be
on my
exciting.
mind.
I say give it more thought. I would encourage you
Okay,
to give it a shot. I
okay,
think there's honestly nothing
I
to
trust you.
lose. I don't know where you stand on growth as supercomputer the streamer, but if there is a question of growth or even just the fact of exploring, I think the space, I would genuinely encourage you to think about doing it. That would be really fun to see you do. Giving you I mean, who knows? You may really enjoy streaming code and teaching people how to
Uh,
code on
that's
Twitch.
true.
You
I
very
could
well
find
could. So as a
tutors.
personal
I could.
growth thing, I would say the potential is really good. I've
That's
seen
true.
many people who have, like you, have said, "Oh man, I could do this. It might be fun." They're like, "I don't know," but then maybe they eventually do it, and then next thing you know, that's like a chunk of their content at that point,
That's all
and
they do.
they love doing it. So
I mean, I've seen lots of people do that with Lego, whether gaming or
exactly,
when they start doing Lego, and then that's all they ever.
yeah.
Never, no turning back, no going
I
back to video games.
happened to me. It happened to me.
You're a perfect example.
Lego was my primary content for, let's
Yeah,
see, I wanna say 9 months, 10 months, and I mean, I still do it till this day, but I'm shooting for half and half Lego and half
and talk show
talking
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah,
talk show, but that happened to me. I tried Lego. I mean, I already loved Lego, obviously,
mhm.
but, the fact that the act of streaming it, like you said, is, getting to share those moments with other people is really
Yeah, it's really great.
fantastic.
I recommend it to anyone. Every
So
time someone's like, "Ooh," like they're in chat or something, like, or not even just in my chat, but just in other
yeah,
chats, like, and they're like, "Oh, I thought about doing it." Yeah, definitely try it. At least try it because it's a great experience. It's a good way to connect with people.
how many people do you think roughly you've converted to Lego over your time as like as a
Converted
streamer?
to Lego
Yeah, as
as
a
a
streamer,
streamer.
where
Oh
you're like
boy,
gotten someone to buy a Lego
I
set
don't.
maybe
Oh well, that
or build
definitely
Lego.
many people that I've
Yeah.
been, "Oh, just go get it." I had a friend mention that they were talking about the, just this last week, they were talking about, the Home Alone set and how, "Oh, it'd be kinda maybe fun to build that and build it with the family around Christmas." I'm like, "Do it." Just
Just go
I'm,
out.
like, trying to explain how much fun that would be. I encourage that behavior for sure. And then
Yeah.
the streaming, yeah. I mean, I've tried to, like, even my own family members that do, like, art and stuff, I'm like, "You should start streaming that." You could totally stream, like, 'cause I want that's another type of stream that I really enjoy is art streams and
Mm,
just, any crafting or just creators in general. Anyone that's
yeah.
creating anything. I'm all for that. I love to see that process, whatever it is. Like there's stuff like I don't even know how to do, like I mean, like crocheting or anything like that. It's like I or pottery. Like
Yeah.
I watch all those streams. I was like, I don't know how to do anything, but this is fascinating, and I love seeing the process. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely have encouraged a lot of people. I don't know how many were convinced, but there's definitely been streamers that have started or at least tried that I have at some point mentioned they should. So
Yeah. Getting to share that love for Lego and encouraging others to kind of experience the same. What continues to motivate you to keep streaming and doing what we do here on Twitch, whether it be, through Lego or a game or a collaboration with fellow Lego streamers? What keeps you
hmm.
going?
Good question. It kinda comes back to the people. Even when I'm not streaming, if I go into another stream, people are always asking me like, "Oh, have you streamed recently, or are you gonna stream?" And it's like they wanna see me putting bricks together apparently, so I'm like, "Yeah," and I ultimately miss that. I miss having the experiences I have while streaming, like the conversations I have with people. You're gonna get the other side of it when you go into other people's streams, and that's also like I have so much fun hanging out in other people's streams. It's that other side. It's hard to explain it if you haven't done it yourself, but but yeah, it's just another way to interact with all these people that it's better. And it's a and I don't like I mentioned that sometimes I build off stream, but usually that's like mocking, and it's usually because I've left some build that I need to get done for my lug to last minute, and I just don't actually have time to do it on stream. Like I need to just focus in and build something because it needs to be done in a couple nights or something. So, but I have never built. Since I started streaming, I have not built a set. I have not built a set off stream. I
Oh,
do not want to. So it's like if I so I'm like, "Oh, yeah." I'd like to build some Lego, that's now connected with I want to stream some Lego. So now that's one thing that'll bring me back. It's like, "Oh, I could really build some Lego, and it would be great to hang out with my friends while I do that." So,
Yeah.
so I better stream.
It all comes back to that social piece, right? Being able to
Mhm.
share the Lego with people who are hanging out in the chat or watching.
Yeah, that
Mm,
definitely is what brings me back. Scott
yeah.
has a comment here about under pressure. It's Scott will know as my lug mate that it's sort of the joke in my lug that I leave my builds to the last minute and like that I start my build like the night before or something. Usually it's a couple nights, and then I just build all night and then I show up at the event with my stuff. So they kind of bug me about that, but I feel like I've produced some good mocks in a very short amount of time.
You just
My
need
better
a
mocks are definitely when I've had more time, but
you thrive apparently on the pressure, which there's
oh, yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
I definitely do.
We've talked about streaming and the thought of a schedule and how that impacts you as a streamer a little bit.
Mhm.
For those that haven't heard the conversation, what are your thoughts on scheduling as a streamer? Because I thought your thoughts and where you arrived recently was really interesting and not a problem
Right.
that I typically hear about.
Oh, okay. This is a I have a unique problem.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually really I think it's more common than people are willing to, like, realize, so
Right.
that's why I wanted to
That's
shed some light on it.
Yeah, I feel like I've just been sort of realizing that it is a problem, and, like, what exactly so I don't know if I'll be able to, articulate it maybe perfectly or as well as I have in the past, but you can fill it in if I miss anything, but
Gladly, yeah.
basic bas basically, yeah, I've always kind of or I've at least in the last while been kinda of the, thought that I need to be really flexible with my schedule and not have a schedule because that in theory would allow me to stream more often because I could just do it when it was right. It fit into my schedule. And if I had to like, I don't know, if I had to schedule a certain day and then I have to cancel, then it's like, well, then I'm not there until my next scheduled thing. I couldn't just show up or something like that. Like I thought that I needed it to be very flexible. And I didn't want that pressure on me. But I'm kind of discovering that the scheduling is helpful for me, and I need to maybe start defining a better schedule. And I won't necessarily have to stick to it firmly. I think what I was mentioning yesterday was like what I've realized is it's more about the being mentally prepared to stream, not not just being like have to suddenly think about, oh, should I stream now or I might stream, and then when the streaming time comes up, I'm not really in the, like, headspace of I'm going to stream, I'm just kinda in the maybe I'll stream, and it's really easy to just be like, "You know, I don't really feel like it that much, I just wanna relax tonight," or, "I've got some other stuff to do, so I just won't stream," and I think that's my life in general, I think, like, being mentally prepared to do something makes me more likely to do it. So if I'm just in a headspace all day of like I'm gonna stream at this time tonight, then when that
Mhm.
time shows up, that's what I'm doing. Like this is what I've known this all day, and
Yeah,
that works for me. I think everyone's different, but that's what I'm discovering about myself that the flexibility of my schedule is actually will cause me to stream less. Yeah, I get it. I don't get into the headspace I need to be because there's
yeah.
actually quite a kind of prep physically and mentally for a stream that I
Mm.
think a lot of streamers are aware about, but maybe some viewers don't realize it can be. Maybe it's really easy for some people, but I think there's a lot of people that struggle with like, okay, like I got to do all these things before stream, and like I've got to prep, and it takes a while, and like I have to be in the right like I'm about to be on camera and gonna be doing this thing for a few hours. So
I would love to hear if you have anything more to say about that in terms of, like, what it takes for you. Because I mean, you pointed out not everyone maybe knows what that's like for a streamer, but I'm curious, how would you describe that in terms of, like, what kind of mental preparation do you need to do, or what kind of mindset do you personally feel like you need to be in when you need to get ready to stream?
I mean, the mental side of it, I think because I'm pretty introverted, it's a lot of social energy for me to put myself kind of out there, and like I'm gonna be socially interacting with people, like that's just in general. Even if I'm like gonna go do something with friends, or I have some work meeting or anything, like anything where I'm having to interact with a lot of people, it can be kind of a lot of mental work, I guess. Like it's for some people, it's just like they just don't have to think about it. But for me, it's maybe a little bit more. So there's that. I actually realize this is sort of related, but like once I start streaming, I am pretty comfortable. I'm having a good time, and I'm not really thinking about like, oh my god, I'm socially like spending all this energy or whatever. Like it's totally I'm comfortable just chat. It's kind of like this. I mean, this interview is probably or or this talk, I should say. Just I was kind of like a little stressed about it or whatever, but like once we've started, I'm pretty comfortable here. But what I was gonna say is like I noticed that after streams, I suddenly realize how much energy I get extremely tired. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is crazy. Like I didn't realize I was spending so much of my mental energy there because I was just hanging out having a good time. Yeah, so that's just another part of like just guess how my brain works. But yeah, that's kind of the mental part. Just kind of to get into the mindset of being on I guess I don't want to say on display, but like I'm on
Mhm.
screen, so people are listening intently to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In theory, you want to be interesting, and you don't want to say something stupid, so your brain's working, and even if you're not realizing, so you have to
Yeah.
get in that headspace. And then like the physical part of getting ready. I think I was mentioning this yesterday a little bit about like I think I actually kind of realized like because of how I've the setup I've got is mostly just using what I have or multi-purpose. Like I've bought things where I'm like I could justify buying it because I could use it for other things. All this like my mic goes over to my desk, and I might use my camera for taking pictures of my mocks, and like face cam is my phone, so it's obviously not. So
Right.
it's like a lot of like now I got to bring all my equipment here and get it all ready. And then there's the streaming, like the actual stream software, and configuring all that and adding new stuff. There's sort of like a for me anyway, like I want to keep adding stuff to the stream. I don't want it to just be exactly the same every time someone comes in. Like I want to have a little bit new alerts. I've changed the look and feel of my layout. I might add more commands or some sort of different game we might try or something. Like I'm always trying to like add little things, and that kind of has to be like I feel like if I haven't done that for a while, like I'm almost like less likely to want to stream because I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm just showing up doing the same old thing. Like I want to show something new. So that might be another part
Right.
of like them getting ready to stream part. But
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot in your situation. There's definitely between the mental prep, the physical prep, and then kind of like you said, the software as well. It's like there's a lot that goes into it that your average viewer may not even think about. I think the collective view is that streamers just sit down and they hit the stream button and then away they go. And then they
yeah,
have hundreds
easy.
of adoring viewers that they can talk to and it's all good.
And
And
nothing ever technically goes wrong.
nothing ever nothing ever goes wrong.
No.
Everything's perfect.
Nothing's broken right in the middle of the stream.
Yeah, nothing breaks in the middle of the stream, like having to replace a whole build camera. Wouldn't know what that's
Uh,
like.
Never seen it.
Never seen it. But it's a thing, right? It's
Yeah.
a whole thing depending on your situation and your setup. There's a lot that goes into just preparing to stream, whether in
Yes.
your like in Super's case here, your case that you have to because you alluded to this, you reuse pieces of your setup for other everyday things. So the
Yeah.
microphone, the camera, getting everything kind of in place and then like hooking it up to your computer and making sure it's all good because you just connected them for the first time that day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and if I've
Yeah,
been gaming on my computer, my audio's probably all different. It's because
yeah,
it's like because I got it all set up for, yeah, streaming, and
yeah,
so, yeah, there's a lot. I think it's I think it's worth it. I think it's better than having twice the amount of equipment. I'm not too into just duplicating my full setup just because I need to reuse some of the stuff sometimes. I think
yeah,
for me personally, I like that I'm getting a lot of use out of what I've purchased. I don't like to like just buy things extraneously, you know, like
yeah. I get it.
it would be silly to have two of everything for me.
We talked about you realizing that you need a schedule to kind of help you get to this mindset or this place of streaming. I guess for someone like I guess for the lesson that you're learning for yourself, how would you articulate this to someone who may run into the same issue as you? How would you advise for this or give them kind of arm them with the knowledge that you've now kind of gained for yourself recently?
I mean, it's I think it's very personal. I think that everyone works a little bit differently with how they prepare. I think a lot of people have found that schedules are good. Like a lot, it seems like everyone's been doing schedules, and I'm just the one who's like, no, I need to be flexible. And now I'm like, oh wait, I get it. It's like
Mhm.
I feel like I'm a little bit behind. Like if you, I'm just realizing something that everyone else already knew. But yeah, I mean, I think try to do a schedule. I think I've been trying to think like I don't actually like I don't have a schedule yet, so I actually haven't finalized what I'm gonna do. So I'm not sure
Mm.
I have a solution yet. I was thinking like maybe it would work to have a schedule, it's almost like a schedule to schedule, like on this day every week, I decide what days that week I'm going to schedule because I don't that would be the kind of the mix of I am able to be flexible week to week, but I can set times where I will be able to kind of prepare. So I'm
Yeah.
sort of just playing with ideas that might work because some people are okay. They want to know like every week uh, at this time they will be on stream, and also they I mean you clearly understand this, like it helps to from a viewership point of view, it helps to be on consistent time. People
Yeah.
can know, they don't even have to look at your schedule after a while, they know when you're going to be on,
Yeah.
and they're ready to join you in there at that time. So if that's really important to you as a streamer, then I would encourage them to do that. But if that's like mentally not great for you, just because you need to kind of be a little bit more flexible, I'd try to like I try to do what I'm thinking of doing, which is like sort of maybe have some sort of hybrid thing where
Yeah.
maybe most weeks it's that day, but if it has to be different that week,
Yeah.
you know, at the beginning of the week, you say that it's going to be different or something
Yeah.
like that. Like, so that's what I'm trying to play around with. So, like I said, I don't think I have a solution yet,
Yeah.
but
I
I don't
I
have the advice. I don't know what I'm doing.
I
That's the
definitely
general rule.
pointed out earlier, I felt it was unique, and it to me, it was unique in that not the fact that you needed a schedule. Like, we can all say that, like, we can all
Okay.
comfortably say that that's the thing like, generally everyone should
Yeah.
think of and do. But what was
Yeah.
interesting to me and what I felt was unique about this
Okay.
particular circumstance was that you were saying, because I think for most people needing a schedule is good because from a consistency point of view, it's really good for the viewer, right? It's really good. Like we've
Yeah.
just said all those things just now.
Yeah.
Really good for the viewer, part of their routine. I say it all the time. What's
Yeah.
interesting about your particular circumstance is that it benefits you because then you can mentally prepare for it as well as kind of put yourself in the mindset of streaming, which
Yes.
I don't think I've heard that angle before from a lot of streamers, and that's why I thought it was really unique
Okay.
because, I mean, I think we all to a degree have to prepare mentally. It's we just got done also saying that streamers have to do a ton of things before their
Yeah.
stream. But I thought it was interesting that you said, I have to get myself in the mindset. If I know I'm streaming that night, I can be kind of ready to do it. And I thought that was
Hmm.
that was really interesting, and for me,
Yeah, that okay. I was just I think that's just something it's like I already know about myself as far as like the way that it's sort of a learning more about the way that you personally work. I know that I am better if I'm mentally prepared to do so, or I'm like more likely to do something if I'm aware. Like there's a lot of people out there that are very spontaneous and they don't need that.
Mm.
If someone suggests, "Hey, you should do that," their brain doesn't immediately think of how much effort that's going to be to get into the headspace for that. But I know for myself, that's just what it is. So I think it's part of just knowing, kind of knowing yourself.
I have huge respect for that. I have huge respect for you knowing yourself enough to do that, and I think I'll use this moment as an opportunity to say, if you don't know yourself when it comes to that sort of thing, it's a good opportunity to think about it. If you do
Yeah.
better
Yeah.
saying, "Okay, this time, this day, every week, I'm gonna do it." And then you can spend that time mentally preparing. I admit I'm somewhat more compulsive when it comes to streaming. Like if
Hmm.
I know I have the time, if I know that I'm like, I could probably go on for 3 hours today, I'll probably just sit down and do it. Oh, I
Like
mean,
immediately,
yeah,
or
like, well, I mean, not immediately, but like day
you'll
of, right?
start preparing like right away. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that,
I'm like, "Oh, I might have a 3-hour window today where I can stream." I'm like,
mm,
"Cool." And then I'll think about it, it's like, "Do I have 3 hours? Do I have 10, 20 minutes to get ready?" Which is generally all I need, where I do my pre-stream stuff where I sit
oh, wow.
down, turn it on, turn it open all the things and turn on the lights but, like, I'm very
Impressive.
compulsive that way, and I know that I am to some degree, that's almost to my detriment because people don't know when I'm on, right? That
Right.
they're like, "Oh, oh, wow." Like, I'll sometimes get the, "Oh, wow. Hey, you're on." I'm like, "Yep."
Oh, hey, hey, it's you.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
yeah, nice to see you too. Thanks for showing up. Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of doing that, but it's not quite, I mean, I think what I realized my time to get ready is probably longer than
right.
most. I'm always like, because I'm like, oh, if it's long, then I should probably eat. It's like I like to have a shower before every stream. For me, it makes me feel more comfortable, and then it's like then all that technical stuff that I did.
Yep.
So
You need, like, maybe a
I
good
actually
hour
have to
to
start
to
at like an hour. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and yeah, depending on the food situation, like if I have to make something, then it's like much longer. But yeah, so I just kind of I can't be that spontaneous myself with it. I wish it could be as easy as just hit the button in 10 minutes,
Yeah.
but it's not for me. So that's been kind of something I've had to
Yeah.
realize and still trying to
Yeah.
work with, I guess. I mean, I can't. I mean, I definitely had those moments where I'm like, I could stream right now if I did all that stuff, but I like could be in the headspace to do it and just
Yeah.
spontaneous about it. And sometimes I have done that like an hour before I went on. I just
Yeah.
because that's kind of what I thought was working for me. Like I said, I
Mhm.
didn't have a schedule, so pretty much had to be spontaneous. But the raid training stuff was really good having that because that was something I was doing for a long time. Every week, I go on for 2 hours at a very specific spot. Others were dependent that I be there at a very specific time. So, and that was good. That was good. And then I started to feel like, oh, maybe this is a lot of pressure for me right now. And I didn't have another time of the week that I was scheduled.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess maybe I'm kind of bouncing around on it, on what's right for me. So I'm still
Yeah.
discovering. It's a it's a journey.
Yeah.
We're all on a journey here to discover what's best for us
It's
in life
very
and streaming.
so very true. One thing that really impresses me about what you do is the fact that you really know yourself and you really I know you just said it's still a journey, you're still figuring it out, but I think you
It
you
changes.
have it changes and you have really still good insight into like what works for you. You described some of the things that you need to do before stream and that gets you there when you get ready to sit down to do it. And to like reinforce that point as well as, terrific asherific in chat said mental prep time's very important. And that
Right.
time is so different, right, for certain people.
Mhm. That can mean different things
It
for
can mean
sure.
different things. It can mean a different scope of time for many. Like for me, I admit, for me, it's not I can instantly sit down and hit stream, but I can sit down, take 5 minutes, and kind of get myself to that point where I'm like, okay, I can stream. I can stream. I know that's not everyone, definitely. Which, in my case, taking 5 minutes to get there generally, not all the time, but getting there generally in 5 minutes will help me be more compulsive with my timing because it doesn't take a
Mhm.
lot.
'Cause it allows for that. So
It
that's
allows for that, but is also I mean, there's cons to it too. Maybe forgetting that people won't know when I'm on unless I try to, like, tell them ahead of time.
Yeah,
So,
but I you do have to kinda do what works for you, and kind of like that's
yep.
it can there's you gotta balance things, right? Like, it's unfortunate that maybe for some people it's better, that the streamer's on a specific time, but if that doesn't work for you and it's, like, mentally draining you over time, like, it might be fine some weeks, but other weeks, it's just harder to pull off,
Totally.
and that's just not sustainable, I think, and then you end up with, like, the streamer burnout, and then you
Mm,
have to disappear, and
that
people won't
is
like
thing.
that either. So you just kinda I mean, it comes back to, like, you gotta be yourself, you gotta on stream, and you gotta you should know yourself and do what's right for yourself when it comes to streaming. I think that's gonna come through in when you stream and also, I guess, when you don't. But it's a constant struggle. I don't think anyone gets it quite right every
Yeah.
time. So we like I said, it's a journey.
No,
But yeah, it's
100%.
yeah, I think for some viewer, like coming back to the point of like streaming at a specific time and that being good for some viewers, I think it's not always the case. I mean, as me as a because of the way I am, I'm not that kind of viewer. I don't I might know that people are on at certain times, but that doesn't necessarily mean that doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna see them more because I know. Like I'm very much I have some time. I feel like I want to watch some streams right now because there's so many things we all have that we like doing, and watching streams is probably just one of those things that we fit in to our day. And sometimes there's people that are not quite as scheduled. There's lots of people that do kind of like a schedule, and so they probably like every day they go on and check the streams at the same time. But there's lots of
Mhm.
people that don't. So it might not always be best for everyone. Like I said, like for me, I don't really watch streams at a specific time every day. So that doesn't help me. It's just great. Like I just get excited when I go to check and I see a streamer that I like on. And if I get an alert on my phone, if those are working, sometimes they don't,
Right?
and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I could really go for that right now." That's more for me, that works more than like, "Oh, it's, Wednesday night, 7 PM, like, I gotta go hang out with so and so." Like, that's not for me, that's not how I watch Twitch, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's just everyone's got kind of a different way.
Do you have any advice for someone who is brand new to streaming and is getting their feet wet as a streamer?
Probably not anything that everyone else will tell you. I mean, I hear the advice a lot, which I think is good. And I kind of mentioned this just a minute ago about like being yourself. I think being genuine is probably the best thing you can do, and that's going to help you, and it's going to help your connection with people and make people want to hang out longer and get a good mic. Scott Scott was talking to me. I was talking to Scott about that earlier, and we talked about that yesterday. We
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about good audio. I guess that's another piece of advice.
Get
But
a good mic.
get a good mic. Like you can just get away with any old camera, really. But I don't know how. I mean, again, like I don't know how good my mic's pretty good, but it's not. It could be better. You.
Sounds fine.
I think also kind of. I mean, if you don't have a good mic and you still want to stream, I wouldn't say don't stream till you don't have a good mic. Just be aware that maybe that's something you want to invest in eventually if you start to really like it. I'm trying to think if there's any other good advice, but I think that's kind of the main stuff. I think just kind of do what you enjoy, and it's gonna come across if you're not having a good time. So, and figure out what I don't know. Well, I was gonna say like figure out what you want out of streaming, but I didn't really. I just kind of was like, oh, that could be fun, and then I have to like think about like, well, what is it that I enjoy about streaming? I just know I like it. I don't, and I have to like I have to actually think about it to realize what are the things.
I
But
well, I mean, if I may, I
mhm,
think you've already talked a lot about that today, because from my
I mean,
perspective, after having spoken to you, is it seems like you
mhm.
really enjoy just connecting with people about Lego and the other things that keep you interested, and I think that's why you stream.
I think that kind of sums it up. I feel like it's not, I don't know, maybe don't have a ton of reasons. So it's just yeah, I like to connect with people and I like to share the things I enjoy. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, I say I'm pretty introverted, but I think, I don't know if there's a misconception that maybe like introverted people aren't social or don't want to be social. They just
Mhm.
struggle with being social.
Right.
They're still driven as like, we are human beings. I think humans are naturally social. Like we just are. We're drawn to work with each other and communicate with each other and share our lives together. So I
Yeah.
think even if you really struggle with it, you're still driven to do that and find a way to do it in a way that you're comfortable doing it. And this is just one of those ways. And especially with the like when I started with the pandemic and lots of people that even didn't struggle because before the pandemic, I struggled with social interactions in general. Like it's always been a like a slightly heightened anxiety situation. I just never fully comfortable unless it's people I really know well. Yeah, when we entered a pandemic and people couldn't socialize in person, that was like a whole other reason to use Twitch or other mediums to do it. So yeah, it's just like using what you have to have those connections with people, using the tools available, and this is one of those tools. So
How has streaming helped you with a lot of that, social the ability to connect with others, a little bit of, if
right.
social anxiety, if you will, like how has streaming helped you with that?
It's a good question. I definitely think about that a lot. I wonder. I mean, I think when I started it, I definitely was like, "Oh, this could really help me with my my basically my anxiety around being on camera or being the center of attention." I guess like when I'm hanging out with friends, I'm the one that will say things every once in a while and lets the conversation sort of go. Like I let it be kind of driven by everyone else in the room kind of thing, and I will kind of put in a comment here or there or kind of whatever, but I don't tend to like bring the tension on me. So I saw this as something kind of outside of my comfort zone, but still potentially comfortable. So, and I don't know how much it's helped me, if it has or not. I feel like I'm still I still struggle with those things. But
Mhm.
I think if I wasn't doing something like this, I'd probably notice how much it has helped me, if that makes sense. Like
Mm,
it's
I
hard to
see.
really know. Like I feel like because it's still not easy that,
Mhm.
oh, maybe it hasn't helped me, but what if I wasn't doing this? Like what would I be what would I be like? Would I be a complete hermit and just not talk to anyone? But I think it's been helpful. I think it's been great. It's definitely it's made me more comfortable. I think, I have to think about it more, I think, but I think I might have to ask my friends almost because I might actually be more vocal in social settings now in those things where like I feel like my thoughts on a topic people might actually care what I have to say. I think I always struggle with like, oh, why do I bother saying anything? Like, who wants to hear of my opinion? It's like unless it's particularly, I'm like, oh, this is particularly poignant. A thought I have, I would voice up, but maybe now it's just like, well, let's put my opinion out there and at least spark a conversation because you have
Mhm.
to do on stream, like you've got to be talking,
Yeah.
you've got to have you have to respond with something, and I think it's been really good for that. I think it's been like, okay, let's talk about this. Let me not just sit on the sidelines of the conversation. Let
Yeah.
me drive the conversation, and that's something I didn't really do much of. So
Mm.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But so maybe if I stop and think about it, it has helped me probably more than I realized. Yeah.
To address something you had said just now about basically questioning the validity of your opinion or your thoughts on a given topic, I think it's always worth it, honestly. I know I know that it's probably often questioned, right? Where you're like, "Man, who would care to listen to what I have to say?" But I certainly would argue that even for the sake not for the sake of argument per se, but for the sake of like you said, driving conversation forward or the sake
Mhm.
of, sharing thoughts and opinions in and of itself, in my opinion, has value. And so
I agree with that.
this is me giving you permission, if you ever ask yourself in the future if it's
Yeah.
worthwhile. And
Yeah, I think that.
you generally have great thoughts in my opinion, but
Oh, well, thanks. I think yeah, just to reiterate it, I do think that's really important to do, to be able to drive a conversation, to have a conversation,
mhm,
to open something up to discussion. There's plenty of things that are worth discussing, and I think in general, I might not shy away from certain topics on my stream as much as some streamers.
mhm,
And I'm not talking just about like in the Lego community, but just kind of in general. I think like some people like they don't want to talk about politics, or like don't bring this up, and I'm kind of like, I'm okay. I mean, there might be some topics I have not much to add to, and so I might not be I might not be very good at driving that conversation, but there's plenty of things that maybe I'm okay talking about. I think we should have these conversations that are sometimes harder to have. It's just because they're hard to have doesn't mean we should avoid them. But at the same time, sometimes lots of people, they're not coming on to Twitch to have difficult conversations with
yeah,
people. They just want to relax. So I get there's a balance. I mean, sometimes you gotta have to
there's a
go with,
balance.
but usually if you're having if you're you'll sort of feel like where you sort of have to learn, I guess, to feel like where the
Mm,
conversation in your chat is going, or what people
yeah,
are interested in. But I think it's important. I think it's like, it's unfortunate if people don't want to have those conversations, but I also get not wanting to have those kind of conversations all the time. Like, I definitely don't want to do it all
yeah.
the time.
I mean,
So
I
you
wouldn't
need a
wanna
break.
have yeah, I wouldn't wanna have it all the time either, but I do agree that
Yeah,
it's good to occasionally touch on those tough topics or share your thoughts
occasionally.
on
Yeah,
it, you know?
yeah.
And honestly, I think a lot of people try to avoid those conversations that are touchy, whether it be politics or religion or any of those other hot topics that are out there. And,
Hmm.
I'll respect that. I'll respect that in any channel that doesn't want to talk about those things nor
Yeah.
cover those
Oh, definitely,
things. But
definitely.
my personal stance a lot of the time is if you are willing to talk about those things, if you are awesome, you should be. You should feel empowered to have those conversations. I think the people who restrict those conversations should think about what the problem is if you do or you don't have them, right? Like if you do have those conversations, be prepared for what that brings.
Yeah,
If you don't, that's fine, but then you also there's this whole thing about if you're afraid of pissing people off or you're afraid of making people angry, you have to ask yourself if you're comfortable with that situation, and if you upset that person with your own personal views. I guess the question is that someone that if they're angry at you for having those views, is that someone you would want to have in your community to begin with?
right.
So that's just
That's right.
kind
That's
of
that's important.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind
it's
of
important to realize.
weighing how you feel about that. And so I'm all for having those conversations. Not all the time, but if they come up
Mm.
and
Yeah.
if they're important to
Ye-
you as a streamer.
yeah, I would never force that conversation.
Right, right,
I mean,
right, right, right.
and I definitely, yeah, like, I understand if, I when I say, like, other streamers don't, like, I understand it's not the type of stream that some streamers wanna have, and
Exactly.
it's not even the type of stream I wanna have all the time, so I get it.
Same, same.
But if it comes up and it's pretty topical and it's, like, a few people are engaged in it, yeah, I'm ready to open that up. I think
Yeah,
it's good. It's good if it feels right. But I mean, coming back to your point about like, oh, do you want that kind of person in your stream if they're going to cause problems? Like, I mean, that kind of comes back to another part of another part of being a streamer is kind of the fostering of your community, if you want to call it that, like nurturing it. I suppose is the word. Nurture
right.
your community. You want to. I mean, you are kind of creating your own little subset of a community when you have a stream. In our case, and you that's definitely something that it can be challenging. Is sometimes you have to not accept an opinion that's coming in or something that
Yeah,
like this is not welcome here, or like we are not that's not the kind of environment that that we're about. And I think that can be really, that might be advice for new streamers, coming back to that question. Like,
right.
I think you have to realize what you are and are like what you do and do not want to allow in your community. Like you let people stay that act a certain way that sort of bothers you or is upsetting other people. That's the kind of environment you're creating. So you have to be aware of that.
Zach M. Rutledge in chat makes a point of Twitch can be an escape for a lot of folks. Creating a safe space away from a lot of topics is a lot more beneficial than inviting it, in my opinion. And I 100% like respect that. I guess to be clear on my perspective, I'm not saying every stream should invite it either. I'm just saying that my thought is expectation, right? Like if the streamer always sets the tone and the expectation for the
Mhm.
community. And so if your expectation is to be an escape and to be a space for that, then great. Contrary to that, there are a lot of streams that exist purely in like the just chatting space, talking about a lot of the topical issues at hand. And a lot of people find comfort in that as well because they're trying to either get more information or educated on particular topics or want to find other people that they can discuss those topics with. Case in point is someone, and I'm going to get a little into that territory, but as a minority, I'm a minority, as an Asian man in America, I've had to share stories about getting hate rated, which has happened here on
Right.
Twitch. I've had to have honest discussions with my community about, hey, here's the situation right now, especially when
Right.
Asians were getting a lot of targeted hate in America right around the pandemic. And
Hmm.
a lot of them were
Yeah.
getting hate rated. Asians specifically were getting hate rated on Twitch. I had to talk about that. And I didn't feel like I even had a choice to not talk about it. And so
Right.
I did take some time on a stream to address it and explain my where I stand on that and actually measures I had in place to have to deal with it. And so it's
Hmm.
not something that I wanted to talk about, but it's certainly something that I had to address. But then I set the expectation of, here's my stance, and here's what we're doing on the stream. But let's get back to, and at the time, let's get back to playing the games that we're playing. And so I get that. I really think it's about expectation, communication, and being open to it. And it's really about being clear about how you as a streamer want to set that expectation for your community. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I've had, there's been times where I've kind of, there's been a topic that it's like this is kind of a really important thing and it's not easy to talk about, but I think I should at least mention it. And like just felt like I have, sometimes you have the platform to reach people and to bring awareness to something that they might not be aware of, and like it almost feels like a responsibility to not completely ignore the fact that you could get people thinking about the things that are difficult but important to at least
Mhm.
consider. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, I understand. I like again, I understand the like trying to create a space as an escape, and I totally respect that. And like my streams, not we're not just talking about that all the time, and usually
Exactly.
it comes natural. It's kind of well, it's either particularly important to discuss in the moment, which yeah, and other times it's it may come up naturally, but yeah, it doesn't happen a ton. But I just don't want to be like, oh, this is a hard conversation that's coming up. Let's go.
Let's
Let's
not.
not
Let's
do it.
let's not
Like,
take those conversations as you're able to, and definitely feel free to address them the best way that you are comfortable with. I think that's really
yes,
I
that's important.
yeah, I think that's really kind of the matter at hand. It's certainly tricky territory. It's certainly tricky
Oh,
territory.
definitely.
Ideally, I'd never love to have to go into territory that's uncomfortable for
Yeah.
folks, but I think in my situation, having to have dealt with things are not fun to deal with. I've even been
Hmm.
forced to have those conversations live on stream, and
Right.
it's unfortunate, but I think as also someone who is a Asian American in this day and age, I can't always get away from having conversations about race or conversations
Hmm.
about equity
Hmm.
for folks, across America, and so and the world. Unfortunately, I end up having those conversations. I think it's just
Yeah.
about navigating them the best way you can. Sometimes you have to have those talks. Ideally, it'd be great if you can avoid them. If you don't feel comfortable, don't engage. To some degree, I think I feel a responsibility as someone who
Right.
has a small place on this site and has a platform of my own. And so I know
Yeah.
that doesn't make a lot of people comfortable, but I guess if people don't like me talking about racism, then I'm not sure what to tell you. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
not sure what to tell you. I'm not sure if you want to be
Oh,
here about me not wanting to have to
yeah.
deal with it.
These are important
So
things. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah. I
it's
don't,
definitely
it,
like a tough thing. Um,
yeah.
Super. Now that we've been at this for a while, I guess the question
Yeah.
is, what is next, like for you and your channel, and your content, and the things you want to accomplish?
What is next? Good question. I think, well, I mean, some of the things we talked about, I guess, is, maybe branching out into other things just to see some growth there.
Hmm.
Even if it's just for my own personal growth,
Yeah,
just to provide some extra, I don't know, just trying different things with maybe the coding or something could be great. But I've had tons of ideas over the 2 years that I could probably go down. I think just continuing to do what I do and see where it goes. I think
yeah,
not stopping is my plan. I think it's the I don't want to say I'm gonna specifically do anything or not, but I know I'm enjoying doing the building and hanging out and connecting with people, and
yeah.
so I'm gonna just keep doing that and see where it takes me.
AZ Pinoy's in the chat saying he's hearing Destiny
Destiny
is
streams, is that what he's?
yeah. I mean, I think we need a 6 person tonight for a raid. So I
Oh
think
no, I'm so bad at Destiny though. But you don't want me. You don't want me.
oh man, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you for this episode. Super. And really quick, where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's twitch.tv/SuparComputar. Those are ARs at the end of both of those. And then the same on Instagram. I have some of my mocks and stuff, and so I'll try to keep posting that. That one I sort of I will do stories about things on stream, but my
Yeah.
posts are all mocks. That's kind of how that one works. But that's yeah, so that's just SuparComputer on Instagram. That's pretty much where you can find me.
Man, thank you once again. Thank you once again for being
Oh,
here. Super.
thank
It
you.
is a
Thanks for having
tremendously
me.
just wonderful conversation. Yeah, thank you
That was
for
great.
just being here. I like
Oh,
to leave the show closed on the note of the guest. So, any final words, closing thoughts, things like that for those that are listening?
just be good to each other, communicate, connect in every way that you can, stay chill. Get this chill vibe. You gotta sometimes you gotta relax and don't take things too seriously. But I just hope everyone takes care and is good to each other.